Hello, we're Steve and Mary Alessi, pastors of Metro Life Church, and we're really delighted that you chose to join us today as part of our online campus. Now at Metro, we are all about the 3 R's: relationship, relationship, relationship. What does that mean? It means we value relationship with God being first and foremost. Also, relationship with each other. People who walk through the doors of our church, we value those relationships. And then relationship with people outside of our church walls, which is why we believe this online campus is so important. It's allowing us to connect with you.
This is us getting to know you, and we're excited to do that. If you haven't had a chance yet, would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? Turn your notifications on so every time we go live or every time we post a video, you have quick access to it. And we hope that this message will be a blessing to you and it will encourage your walk with the Lord.
All right, Metro, we've got a great message that we're going to be sharing with you today. And we're actually going to be talking to you about building healthy and happy marriages. And it's going to be in that order, because a healthy marriage will be a happy marriage. Now, understand this. When we started Metro Life Church, we had a few couples that started with us. I started to calculate the number of years that all of us combined have been married, and it actually goes over 200 years of,
Wow.
of all of our founding members that started with us that are now in leadership to a certain degree. We had over, I guess there was 6 couples, over 200 years. And almost all of us have been married to the same spouse.
Almost.
And a couple that represents 40 of those years are sitting at the table with us today. Our dear friends, David and Maury Martinez, 40 years of marriage. You've been together a few years longer than that.
44.
Yeah, 44.
Yeah.
4 years. So you may want to talk into your mic, David. This is not children's ministry. 44 years together. That's cool. Wow. Mary and I, 37 years, and we only knew each other about a year before that. So 38
It was
years.
a quick
we've
work.
known
It was a quick work.
Yes.
We got
All
married
right.
quick.
I think it was Mary's father, actually, that said this little comment when we got married. He says, marriages are made in heaven, but they're worked out here on earth.
Oh, very true.
So what we want to...
He also said that love is blind, but marriage is an eye-opener.
That's before I cocked him with the left. No. The point of that is this. We know this, that marriage is actually instituted by God. It was what God's will is for humanity. He made Adam and Eve. It's not good that man would be alone, makes him a helpmeet, Eve, and the two shall become one. And it's actually Jesus who makes this statement in Matthew chapter 19. He says, haven't you read that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So God instituted marriage, no doubt about it. But then it's up to us to now have to work this marriage out. And I think we can find that in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22, it says, he who finds a wife
Finds a good thing.
finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. So a wife has to be made, because she's not, every woman is not a wife.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to be made. And
Yes.
just like every man is not a husband, he has to be made.
Yes.
And if they have to make their role, then how much more do we have to make it to be a husband and wife and make it a good marriage?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're with us. And I think just our conversation today, as we focus actually throughout this month in the church on building healthy and happy marriages, I think you have a lot to say that will be a real blessing to the members of our church family.
I love the fact that you guys are here talking about this subject, because everybody that's been to men's camp or women's camp has heard your story, and you have made such a deep, profound impact on them. And you got to go to camp to hear the real true Hollywood story.
Yeah.
But today, there's nobody better to talk to about sticking it out, being two strong individuals, very strong individuals, but to be married for 40 years in this day and age is almost unheard of. But you guys have done it. You're a testament to godly marriage and how that works. So I'm just glad y'all are here, and this is going to be a
Yeah.
great subject to help a lot of couples.
Perfect. All right, David, let's talk about respect and admiration. We have some notes here, but really let's just let our heart speak here. Experience has taught us a lot of good things. So when we think about respect in the marriage and admiration, again, that's even biblical because the Bible tells us that a woman needs to honor the man and the man needs to really love the
Yes.
woman, admire. So that respect and admiration goes hand in hand. So a question I want to ask is how can we make sure that we show respect for each other's opinions even when we disagree?
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
Mr. Disagreeable
Yes,
over
go
here.
ahead.
Well, listen, I'm one that likes to stir it up, so I like to, so it's a little bit, it's just something that you have to sit back and say, okay, it am I making my wife a better woman?
Yeah.
Is my marriage making her a better woman, or is it making her worse?
Mm,
Is my actions and my respect for her making her more Christ-like, or is she more
Mhm.
Christ-like in spite of me?
Right.
And so I think when you look at that and how God has put in place the fact that even our prayers will be hindered if we're not respectful and honoring our wife.
That's right.
And for me, I think all of us, we want our prayers answered.
mhm.
So I think if you look at the result, it will change. It changes the behavior when it
Yes.
comes to respect and admiration. I mean, we have the benefit. I say the benefit. It was really worked for, like you said. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. But a marriage is built; it's not
That's
found.
right.
Mhm.
And so I think we have the benefit of being able to look back and say, okay, it was really worth it.
Yeah.
That's right.
But what do you do when you're in the middle of it? I think you have to pull people around you that model that.
Mhm.
And I think obviously you guys are a great example. But the tribe that you hang around really makes a huge difference in how you treat your wife
Yeah.
because it sets a standard.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
How about you, Maury? Respect, admiration. I mean,
I think that it's a lot easier now in this season than it is in the initial season. So I want to start with that by speaking to all the young couples that are newly married because eventually the honeymoon stage wears off
Yes.
and it is really hard to become selfless and truly respect and admire somebody despite them being totally different because there are no two more polar opposite people on this planet than David and Maury
we agree.
Martinez.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when you said those opening comments that and Pastor Mary said that we've been married 40 years, and this is a miracle of God in like for everyone to see. Because if David and Maury can make it, anybody can make it.
Yeah.
So in this season, it's very easy for me to respect in David because of the man that he's become. But in the earlier years, that's a challenge. And it goes back to what David said is surrounding yourself by people that'll keep you accountable
That's good.
to not disrespect your husband or not to gossip about your husband or talk bad about them. So that would be my answer
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
That's good.
How you respond to respecting your authority, your
Well,
pastor,
yeah,
your husband?
yeah. Let's just talk about that. Um, as we mature and we grow, our understanding does too. And one of the things, what I love about what you're saying is surrounding yourself with the right people that have that desire the same outcome of purpose. And everybody gets married because they love each other. They can't wait to be together. And then you get married and you can't wait to get away from each other. And the most important thing in your marriage to make it work is to find out what the other one needs. And men need respect and they need to feel admired and they need to feel honored. And that's not a need that comes natural to women, but that doesn't mean that I get to neglect that and only meet my needs. In order for this marriage to work, I have to understand what makes you tick and what makes you respond the right way to get the right outcome. And it's so hard when you're young and you're petty and you're immature and you don't understand. You will stir up so much disrespect, so much animosity, and you've got to go clean all that up And having people around you, and we say this all the time, get a couple that's maybe 10 years married longer than you, so that you can really look at them and they can help you take it down a notch. We all had that. And we can all say we survived as long as we have because we've had people that have gone before us and they've helped us mature and they've helped us understand. Because without understanding, without insight into what the other one needs, marriages can't work and they can't last.
Yeah. Well, it's a fallacy to think I'm not going to disagree with my spouse.
That's right.
I mean, I disagree with my mom and dad. When dad was around, we had all sorts of disagreements, and he birthed me. So now we come into this relationship with somebody after we've already formed opinions and we formed our personalities and we're in our teens and then 20s. We come in contact with this person, and what? We're not going to disagree?
Right.
We're going to have that disagreement. Here, the Bible even says, just don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So we have this disagreement, but to remain respectful in the midst of it, that's where we give up something of ourselves. And it's not easy. And I don't even pretend to know how to do that, to be able to say, all right, at this moment, I need to back off a minute because my spouse's happiness and well-being is more important. She and I were going at it a while back, and whatever I said tipped it. And it just, her response in that moment was like, oof, I think I went a little too far. Now, mind you, for a good 20 hours or so, I was brooding on that thing. I was really feeling like what started and those comments that were being made. Okay, I have a reason to be upset and I have a reason to be cold. I have a reason. And I really felt like, man, I won this case. In the court of law, I was on the right side of this argument. But when all of a sudden it went too far and I saw the response was not the normal spouse, Mary, that I know, it was like, okay, everything that I think I know is right doesn't matter one bit. Now, out of appreciation for just the wife that she is, I better back off real quick, swallow my pride, and go in there and say those terrible words that she needs to hear that I hate to say. Hey,
I'm sorry.
that's
So
not where
sorry.
that's not where this was going. So, meaning
Okay.
in my mind, this
Oh,
argument
yes.
was not going in this direction.
No.
Why fight?
That's
Why
right.
continue? So there has to be that boundary that we say to ourselves in order to show the respect and the admiration. I just won't overstep or go that far. So disagreements, just you two, how have you handled those and still
Well,
maintain respect?
I think we spent decades crossing that boundary. We did.
Yeah.
We got very good at crossing that boundary. And it did come to a point where we had to change our habits and our thinking in order to do what you're saying. For some people, it may come more natural, and we're just being honest. We're very passionate people, and nobody knows how to say the right things to make me feel
Pull
like
those
this better
triggers.
than he does. And Pastor, I really related with what you said, or like
Or
that.
like
That's
that.
true.
That's
That's
true,
true.
too.
I like what you said because I am that person that once David gets so upset and retaliates, where I said that one thing too many, I do see that in him. That, oh my gosh, I hurt him, because that's not David's nature. David will take and take and take and take. So we had to just come to the point where now we know what the boundaries are, and we know that there's a right time and a right place, and not every moment is for every conversation.
Right.
So there are moments that we need to not say anything at all, and we're getting better at that, a
Yeah.
little better. So
Listen, I think it stems from, at least with us, we're raised in such different households and such different cultures. In my house, everything was a secret. Nobody talked about anything.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
you learn
well,
about
welcome.
that. And from Maury's family, the neighbors heard them
That's right.
from 6 blocks away, because they just vomit everything out on each other.
Yeah.
And then they could just walk away from that. And so that to me was like, okay, wait a minute, I'm sitting here full of vomit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The vomit's still there,
Yeah.
but they feel better because they got it out.
Mhm.
And so when you take that into a perspective of, okay, I don't want that person to end up
Yeah.
feeling that way, because once it's said, doesn't even matter when you apologize, it's still there.
Yeah.
The seed is still there, the word is still there, and it just takes you so far out of the lane
Yeah.
of where you want to be in,
Yeah.
that you really have to put you have to put your pride down, which
Mm.
is very hard for a man, because we want to win
Mhm.
to the point where nobody wins. I mean, it's like our legal system. You go to court and a judge is deciding. At the end of the day, nobody really wins,
Right.
because even if you win the case, you lost so much time,
That's right.
so much stress, so much family time. Just there's so much that goes involved in a lawsuit, and then you're judged.
Yeah.
There
And
you
I
go.
think if we
Right.
look at that in the same vein, that we're getting judged as men
Mhm.
on whether we honor our wife and respect them, to the point where it will hinder our prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it says it multiple times in the Bible. And so those are things that I think if we look at the consequences, we can step back.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about just changing the environment.
Mhm.
Like, stop arguing at the kitchen table and go sit outside and
Yeah.
talk
Mhm.
and change the environment, because we all have triggers
Yeah.
and cues that, last time we sat at this table, here we go again.
Right. It's
You
true.
know, so sometimes you just got to, get on a bike and go have a bike ride and talk on the bike.
Get away from the knives.
Get
Get out
away,
of the kitchen.
get away from the sharp objects,
guns and the knives.
especially with Cuban
Fresh
women.
air.
Get away from the pans and the
Well,
knives.
you know what you're saying, David, is so true. And maybe we just don't realize this, especially when we're young. It's the old saying, you can win the battle, but you'll lose the war, right? So we want our point to be so right that we're willing to blow up the whole house just to
Mhm.
prove that we were right. When you realize, the smoldering of your house, was it really worth it? No, it wasn't. So, Mary, how do we show then respect and appreciation just on a daily basis for one another?
I think being proactive in a lot of ways is so important. And again, it goes back to maturing and really wanting peace in your home, real peace, not trying to just reject conflict because you don't like conflict. But I'm talking about really true, authentic, honest peace with your spouse. That there's nothing that's greater than that.
No.
I mean, I think about our relationship now. I see your relationship now. What the enemy fights is that very thing that we need so desperately to have, what satisfies the most. And that is an earthly covenant where we are at peace. And we can wait so late in our marriage to really listen and lean in and get it. But I know for us, and I hate to say this because it can feel like, oh, Pastor Steve and Mary are perfect and Maury and David are perfect. No, we've just been married a long time. I mean, when we fight, when we have fought in the past more, you get older, you're like, I don't want to fight no more. I do not
It's a good thing that you
we're
get a little tired. You're
tired.
just like,
I don't
I
want
don't
to
even have the energy to fight.
from
Whatever.
this, dear
Whatever.
Lord. I know you love me, and you're just being what you're being right now. I'm going to bed. But
I just know what we do in this moment is going to affect later, so I don't want to mess that up.
well, yes, but
Dinner.
food.
know what I'm
sure,
saying?
I know what you're saying. But couples can get to a point where you fight so much that it becomes habitual.
It's a habit.
And you become, I said this in a podcast today, you become two gladiators that literally try to out-war one another, and nobody's going to win. This is it. This is the one I'm going to fight to the death. I don't care. For what? Like you said, everybody loses. And I think the only way that you turn the corner on that is that you got to lay your sword down.
Mhm.
And you have to get to a place of serving one another. How do I outserve you? I mean, sometimes it's in our marriage because we spend so much time together. Now we really try to one up each other, who got the coffee first in the morning or who got to whatever first. How did we get from I'm mad at him all the time to I can't wait to make his coffee in the morning? That's supernatural. That doesn't just come naturally. But I think first of all, it has to start with a desire.
Mhm.
You have to think about what kind of a marriage do I want in the end? Do I want to be married that long? If I want that, then there's some things that I have to do right now. And I have to love and honor him. It's not about whether he's honorable or lovable. It's that I want the desired outcome. I have to do the things that I have to do to be a good wife. You jump in here.
How do you show David appreciation on a daily basis?
How do I show David appreciation? My words.
Yeah.
David needs to hear it, and he doesn't expect it. I know that it means a lot to him, that I recognize it.
Mhm.
So if he's done something sweet, like this morning, he went and he was on his way to work and realized I didn't have gas. He turned back around, got my car, washed the car, and brought it back. And he woke me up to tell me this story. So I'm trying to digest the story, and I realized when I hung up, I didn't even tell him thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So I went, picked up my phone. I said, I just want to tell you that I really appreciate what you did this morning. So I think just to acknowledge that he does so many wonderful things, but just to acknowledge all the little things as well, that's how I show him appreciation, and he receives it best that way.
Okay. Funny thing about that story, okay? It's the old no good deed goes unpunished
Oh, Lord,
word, okay?
again?
So I remembered her, she's saying yesterday, it was in church, saying, hey, by the way, my car's low on gas. And her car was at home. We came in mine. And so I didn't remember it until I had left the house, read my Bible, duck out the trash. I'm almost on 75. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, I should have enough to get to, I'll do it when she gets to the office. And I said, no, you know what? She expected that. So I turned around, went back. Couldn't find her keys anywhere. Couldn't find the key.
Surprise.
Luckily, because I am who I am,
Surprise.
I have a spare key. Of course, it's in the closet, so I didn't want to wake her back up, but I got to go. It's in a little box on the top of my closet because I know at some point in time we're going to need it. If I finally find the key, go to the gas station, get gas, and let me run it through the car wash. In the car wash, and I see in the rearview mirror soap coming through. She had left one of the back window, or somebody had left
Our grandchildren.
one of the back windows a little bit this
Oh,
much.
no.
So the soap is shooting in the back seat. So not only did I had to fill the car, I had to go home and I had to clean the seat and all the soap that was all the stuff that was inside the car.
Oh my God.
So it was really, and it made me laugh. I think
Sure.
20 years ago, I would have said, why did I even do this?
Mhm.
Like, I would see, what
Yeah.
do I get for doing something
Mm.
nice? Now it cracked me up. I'm like, really? I mean, come on.
Hey, wait a minute.
So
You're the same guy who went to load up the car. Tell me the story at Christmas. You were loading up the car with what? Tables?
By the way, he was
Oh.
doing that for me as
No,
well.
another.
No, wait.
Let's go back again for respect and honor, okay?
Buckle up, everybody.
Go ahead.
So
Hey,
more,
honey, we're
more
having a children's ministry
dinner
at our house. And guess what? Everybody else is busy down in Dayland, so we need to get the tables and chairs up there. So I say, okay, no problem. Load them in. Of course, we got to take the wooden ones, which are 180 pounds each. Okay. So I'm sweating. I'm in my church clothes. I go second service. I load it all up, put it all in the car, and I ask her if that's enough. She goes, no, why don't you take the other two benches too, just in case? I said,
It's always
okay.
good to be prepared.
So yes. So I put them in the top of the car, and I'm going down 25th Street, and some truck cuts me off. I hit my brakes, and the bench goes like a Scud missile right through my front windshield.
No.
Boom! I mean, broke my screen in my car, went right through the
my
thing,
gosh.
and I started cracking up. I said, "Really, this is going to be a great party," because the devil
There
obviously
you
wants to
go.
really make me upset. Because here I got a bench through the front of my windshield, and I
Yeah.
have to drive all the way to Davie
Oh,
with
my
everybody looking
gosh.
at my car with his bench out the front. Like,
It was a good
and
party.
you know everybody knows. You know every
Oh, my
man. I'm
gosh.
looking. Every man is looking at me like, what an idiot.
Well, David, you
That's awesome.
are a gift giver. So how do you show appreciation on a regular basis to your wife?
I'm trying to be better. It's a lifetime experience. It really is. Even after all these years of marriage, because I know what her love languages are, and they're not mine. So for me, it's like a real stretch. So I used to be really, really good at the big things, big trip, big gift, other things like that. Now I'm much better at the smaller gifts. One of the things that I do is I know that she goes to bed thinking of coffee, wakes up because
Oh,
all she
yeah.
wants to do is get up so I can have my cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So I fill the coffee thing with water. And I know that she drinks a lot of water when she's through this filter. So before I leave every morning, I fill the water in the coffee maker and the water in the filter.
Yeah.
Just as a little thing. But it's become such a habit that I just do it now. It's part of my morning routine because
Yeah.
I'm a very routine person in the morning.
Yeah.
Very routine. It's the
Yeah.
same every day. So it really, it's a matter of just thinking about it. Okay, so what can make her morning better? Because I know if her mornings are good, most of the rest of the day is going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a morning thing.
You know what I love about that is that, and I think in our younger days was lost on us. We didn't realize the value of water in a coffee pot, what that could do. We weren't even wired to think that way. We're all so wired when we're younger to think about our needs and what
Yeah.
we need. But the profound effect of that, and you know this because this is why you do it, when Maury wakes up, her first thought, if you're not there, is a good one towards you. And it sets up her day. You were there. You were standing in that moment, knowing she was going to wake up. It just goes so far. I have been a very, very self centered young wife. I know I was. I never thought that way. I didn't put that hat on of what would make Steve feel good behind my back. I'm not even there. But what could I do to set him up to have a sweet moment and have a sweet day? And he's a person that it's the small things. It's about being conscientious. I mean, to an extreme. He's conscientious to an extreme. Well, I'm not wired like that at all. But what I've learned is taking those little steps goes so far. And I would tell the kids, guys, with dad, a little bit goes a long way. And it's not just in marriage, it's the whole picture of knowing how your person is wired and what will set them up to go, he loves me. It just sets the tone in your marriage for the most beautiful. I think it's setting a stage of servanthood for one another that is godly.
And if we model this to the best of our abilities, our kids pick this up.
Yes, they
And it's something that they carry into life because I have this whole thing now where, and you would understand this, Maury and I, our long-term relationship, what's so interesting is David and Mary share a similar personality trait and type. Maury and I do. And over the years, it's very easy from this personality type, to get caught up in keeping score. All right. So we're accused of keeping score by saying, okay, I did this for you. Now you need to do this, or you should have done this, or you should have thought of
Right.
that. For me,
Right.
it's just
Oh,
this
man.
kind of personality type,
Yeah.
right? So we're almost made to feel bad. I was having a conversation with one of my family members one time, and they said, oh, you mean that's like keeping score? Because you did that for me, I should have been thinking I need to do this for you. And I said, yes. It's, for one thing, here's what it is. It's not keeping score. It's keeping the relationship healthy. Because in every relationship we have, it's always transactional. It's okay. It takes two to tango, which means both have to come to the table to make this dance what it should be, or the dance floor make the dance what. Both have to participate. If there's a good deed done, then there's a reciprocation with appreciation. Thank you. That's the reason we teach our kids. If somebody did something for you, you say thank you. It's transactional. Somebody says, well, that's not godly. Even salvation is transactional. If you want to have a relationship with God, you have to pray the prayer, confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. It's all transactional. And the same is true with the relationship. So we're
Yes.
teaching our kids that if you want to go the extra mile in a healthy relationship,
Yes.
you've got to do your part, which then leads me to this question, all right? How do we avoid taking each other for granted? I mean, we're with each other all the time. As couples, how do you avoid taking your wife for granted?
I mean, I think that's a hard one. That's a hard one because it's been so long,
Yeah.
and things become routine, and even the routine things, if done enough, we give it less value. And I think that we have to look at, even when you're raising your children, it's quantity, not quality. People get this all wrong about it's got I've spent quality time. It's not quality, it's quantity, because that's when the little things become important.
Become
And
quality.
even though
Yes,
yeah,
that's
become
right.
quality because you've done them so often. But that's a hard one. I think it's just it's got to be a conscious effort in doing that. I mean, you really have to sit back and say, okay, I know, if she takes my dry cleaning every Wednesday or Thursday, but that's a big deal because I hate the dry cleaner,
Mm.
or whatever it is in your relationship. But I think it also goes back and biblically. And I came across this scripture recently, which kind of blew my mind because we always focus on Malachi 3:10, which is, you're robbing me. How are you robbing me? You're not bringing the tithes. But if you look back in chapter 2, it says, you're also robbing me here because you're laying on the altar and crying and groaning over me not accepting your offering. Okay. And you ask me why. And I say, because you're not treating the wife of your youth the way I want you to.
Wow.
And it says, because you're faithless. And it says, that's why I won't accept your offering. Even though you're here crying on the altar, I'm not accepting your offering because you're not taking care of your wife, the wife of your youth. And it says, it ends with, why am I like that? It's because I expect godly offspring.
Wow.
So when we look at that and we got to work backwards into the sense of saying, okay, here's where I want to be. How do I get there? It's like any other habit. We have to start here. Yeah. And so we constantly have to tell our minds, especially men, that we need to make sure that the routine doesn't become routine. Mm-hmm. We can be routine people, but not take for granted the other ones and the things that she does, even though it becomes routine, the washing of the clothes, the keeping of a beautiful house, and all of those kind of things, cooking a good meal. We've done it for so long that those are little things that I think we take for granted. And if we're not careful, it's just a conscious effort, which is hard for men because we're just visual and it's just, it just comes out.
And we're always out ahead.
Yeah.
We're always thinking about, the end of the day. It's like you say, you get up in the day, you already know what you got to do on your way to work. You know what you're trying to accomplish. So we're always out ahead. We're not always thinking about what they did last night. And as a result of that, sometimes we could get past that. But what about you, Maureen?
I think it goes back to being selfless. And I have a great example for this particular topic because lately, David has been expressing how much he loves the smell of a home-cooked meal when he walks in the house. I love the smell of a clean house.
Oh, this is fun.
The minute I cook, everything gets thrown out, dishes washed, and diffusers are on. I don't want my house to smell like food at all. I don't want to wake up for it smelling like food. I like a clean house. So he has shown this is something where I could take for granted in him is that any meal works. If I throw frozen chicken tenders in an air fryer, that's dinner, and he's not going to complain about it. If we order pizza for the 10th time and, from a particular restaurant, he's not going to complain about it. But he has expressed this, like he really likes that smell. So I've been trying to not take that for granted, that I could feed him anything. Yeah. Take out, air fryer, frozen, doesn't matter, and be more intentional on creating that smell in our house. So this is a great practical example that even 40 years later, this is something that's important to him, and I have to change my thinking and be selfless and not just want that clean smell, but create the smell that my husband desires.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see he is more and more Italian. 10 pizzas within a month. I'm happy. But more, what you're saying is, and David, you as well, it's not the big things alone that show appreciation. It really is some of the little things that prove that you're aware, that you see what they're doing and you see what they like and you're willing to go and do that, not because it's you, but because it's them. So let me ask you, Mary, who's married to Steve.
Okay.
How do you show appreciation on a regular basis and not take your husband for granted?
I think you need to answer that question. How do I show appreciation and not take you for granted?
Somebody's listening to you. Tell them the truth.
The truth?
Come on, tell them. How do you do that?
I think, honestly, the little things with a man, especially with you, make such a huge difference. It's the little things. It's never the big things. So when I try to do things that I think will make you happy, it's usually things that I liked. So the garbage is the big deal. Making sure the garbage is either packed down or I can tell you the one thing that will get us into a little argument is just not crushing the boxes and putting them in the garbage can crushed.
How about taking them from the next to the door out to the...
See, that's why I said you needed to answer this one. Because
You mean you walk outside your door on the way out in the morning and trip over some boxes or a
I don't
bag
even
of
get out
garbage?
the door. They're
that
right
went-
there.
they're-
oh Lord,
Right by the
They're
door,
always
like-
Mine are
boxes.
usually
There's
outside
always-
the door, so I don't even see them until I trip over them at 6 o'clock in the
See?
morning when it's still dark this time of year.
Every marriage is just right there, just a trigger away from an
and
argument.
the garbage can is literally
See what I'm saying?
16
See
feet,
there?
maybe
See
a good
there?
8 steps, good exercise. Get it.
But I know
get
how
your
much you love
steps
to
in.
do it.
That's right. I've
Why would I
watched you
take
crush
that away?
boxes. Nobody crushes boxes like you. And I feel like it's a gift because you take out your animosity
Okay, so the next
on
point.
things.
Yeah. Well, I said something, and maybe I'm mistaken. So let's bring balance. I said it's the little things.
Yeah.
Right? To people that have my personality that say it's the little things that really matter, that's one thing. But there's other people that are big things
Yes.
people,
Yes.
right? And big things to that person means a lot. Whereas you could do all these little things and they may say, well, that you're supposed to do that. But you scheduled a trip for us, just the two of us, to go somewhere. You went out of your way to do that. Wow, thanks.
Right.
That may be their way of showing appreciation by doing the big things. And so when we come at them with, well, you're not doing the little things, they're like, but I'm doing the big things. I guess what we're getting to here is everybody has their way of feeling appreciated.
Right.
And it's somehow up to the spouse to figure out what that is for that person.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with maybe just 3 to 5 years of marriage.
No. You need a long time to figure
It's
it
a
out.
long
Yes.
runway to finally get up and at the right altitude where you start to learn some valuable lessons about life and about the people that you're married to. I know a lot of people as well as you do that have gone through divorce only to say later they wish they would have kept it together.
Yeah.
And some of them say, I just didn't appreciate who they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what you fail to realize is as you're being married, you're also maturing. You're growing up. You're realizing things you didn't know last year. So staying together through the thick and the thin is the half of it.
Mhm.
Just stay together.
Yeah.
Just don't give up on your marriage. Find out what makes the other one happy and just do a lot of that.
Yeah.
If it makes them happy, imagine what happens when you get to that place in your marriage, which I feel like we're there, where you're just looking for ways to serve and make the other one happy because you're tired of being unhappy. You're tired of being at conflict and you wish you could go back and redo some years, but immaturity kind of landlocked you a little bit, you know? That's okay. Stay in the fight, stay in the marriage. Don't walk away. Get around couples that can help you stay in a little bit longer and ask God for extensions of grace for your spouse. He'll give it to you.
Yeah. You know, I've thought about the whole aspect of people that every day get up and go to work. They got to go out the door and they dress up for people that they're really not in a great relationship with. It's a have to relationship, not a want to relationship. But they put on their nicest clothes, do their hair the best, their makeup the best, nicest shoes. They go out the door to spend all that time with those people that they don't really care for, only to come back home and all that stuff. They don't present their best to their spouse when they're home because they're tired. Now this is a place I can let my hair down. You know what? I don't need to, I'm exhausted. I don't need to watch this series with you. I'm going to go in my room, pull up my phone and just kind of power down. That's not always showing appreciation for the people that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Sometimes just tweaking that a little bit.
Yeah.
Saying, all right, I go is so far out of my way to look my best out there in the real world. Why don't I think about that when I'm at home? Why don't I put on some cologne when I walk around the house because he likes or she likes the way that I smell? Why don't I, put on some decent clothes and not just wear the muumuus or the the joggers, or the spandex, or whatever.
Or
You
the wife
sque-
beaters.
The wife beaters. Why not? Why not?
Yes. Yeah, I hear you.
Because yes, there's a time that I can do that to relax, but maybe going the extra mile to say, let me present even a best image of myself for that person I care for, could show some appreciation and respect for the marriage and the relationship.
That's good.
Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that what you just shared, you actually shared it in a marriage class in 1987 at Grace Church upstairs, up in the second floor when we did that.
That must have been the second week.
No,
Because the first week
was the pecking like the duck.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll never forget those two lessons.
That a
was
nagging
that
wife
one?
is like being pecked to
Like-
death by a
like a-
duck.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow.
And the importance-
Ooh, you said that?
Yes, he
did.
did.
David used to come to
Okay.
church with band-aids on his
He's all better now.
He's all better. He's got a little hair left, thank you.
But it's a profound lesson to learn and to receive and to walk out, because it is true. We give the world our best, and at home we think that it's okay. And I could tell you that I'll never forget that lesson
Yeah.
from 35, 38 years ago, however long that was, in 1987. I can't do the math, but
Golly.
yeah, it's a great lesson.
Well, 40 years doesn't happen by accident.
No.
It's not a coincidence that you guys have been married 40 years. Not a coincidence, 37 years. And it's definitely not just God.
No.
Now, we can say it's the grace of God. God gave us the grace on so many occasions. And the grace means he's given us a second, third, fourth, fifth chance to get it right. And that's the grace part. But there's been a whole lot of work
Yep.
that has gone in to presenting this opportunity, even as we sit here, 40 years for you to be able to speak into others, for us to just be able to talk. Because I know this about our church because I hear it from my kids. It's going to make me cry. There's young couples out there saying, we want to be like David and Maury.
Absolutely.
We want to be like Steve and Mary.
Yep.
We want to have friends in our lives like David and Maury. So you've done good.
You sure have.
You've done great, for real, which is why we're super close. Because if we lead by example, then we've known over the years we have to lead or surround ourselves by people that do the hard thing. And you guys have done that. And we're so grateful. And it's one of the reasons why you're qualified to be a part of the leadership of our church and to help pour into the men at Goodfellas Camp and the women. When you share your stories of how you are where you're at today, even leading our legacy ministry in our church, what people don't realize is how the devil was after your legacy in those early days. And you guys stood up, you took them on, and you had good people in your corner, and you're doing great things today, helping others walk in legacy. So, Metro, this is all about helping us build healthy and happy marriages.
Yes.
They don't start and happen overnight.
No.
It takes a lot of commitment and a lot of work. And if you would like to actually hear more, I'll tell you what we're not going to do. We may be closing this message, but we're not going to stop the conversation. We are actually going to invite you to join us at the Family Business with the Alessis podcast, because we're going to continue and share a little bit more behind the scenes, let our hair down a little bit more so we don't feel as stressed to be perfect in front of you. If you want to get some behind the scenes truth, then you need to join us for the Family Business with the Alessis podcast that drop every Wednesday. And this month, it's all about building healthy, happy relationships and marriages. Praying for you. Campus pastors, pray for every couple and every family as we say our goodbyes. Before you check out and click off this video, listen, thank you for letting us speak into your life. Hopefully, the message you heard has inspired and encouraged you. Now, if you want to find out more about Metro Life, you can go to our website at metrolifechurch.com. And right there, you'll see more and more about what this ministry offers you. It's great to have you joining us online, but we want you to step into our world if you feel so compelled to do so. And if you would like to make a donation through an offering, you can do so, because right on your screen, there's a little tab for giving. Click on that tab. I promise you, you'll be blessed. as you do give.
So thank you for watching with us. Thank you for joining our online campus family. We hope you have a great week, and we hope that if you're in the Miami area that you would come and personally visit us so that we can shake your hand and get to know you. Have a great week.